This morning, thanks to the comment section here in YouTube, I was able to visit back and forth with one of the viewers. And we were talking about CA glue versus epoxy glue, and we were talking about the fact that sometimes you got a bit of a void between the brass tube and the pen blank, and it can come apart on you when you're turning it down. I think I've only had that happen twice. But anyway, I was thinking, yeah, I'm going to be getting down pretty close to the brass tube this morning. And then I thought, well, I better make sure my scraper is as sharp as possible. And then I realized, well, I haven't sharpened it probably for about a month or more. So, here we are. Now, the kit called for a 27/64 bit, which I used. But I'm wondering if maybe they should have required one the next size down, because I found that the holes that I drilled were, I thought, too big. And there was a lot of play between the brass tube and the wood. Now, I did goop on that CA glue as good as I could there, so I'm hoping that the voids are filled. But in a few moments, I'm going to know, because I should be done here with my sharpening. Now, I know I've mentioned this before, but some of you guys might think to yourself, oh, Ron's got a microscope. Well, this is not the ordinary microscope that you would think of, in a lab. This microscope only goes up to, I think it's 64 power. If you're thinking of getting a microscope for your workshop, you don't want to be getting one of those that goes up to 2000 power, because it'll be useless. And unless you want to look for a cure for cancer in blood cells or something like that. But this kind here, it zooms from 8 power to 64 power, and it does it in stereo. And I can see if there are any tiny little micro nicks in this chisel here that I would not ordinarily otherwise be able to see or feel. So it's kind of handy for that. Or, if you want to check and look at your crickets up close. Now, I don't know if you can see it, but the top of my tool rest here is getting some little nicks on it, which make it difficult to slide the chisel back and forth smoothly, that is. Like this one here, you can really see it. That's better. Well, I think I'm going to take it down the rest of the way with sandpaper. Now, when it comes to this friction polish, the way I do it is, I'll put it on nice and thick at first while it's turning slow. Work it into the pores really good. Now, before it has a chance to dry, I'll wipe off the excess. Then I'll speed up the lathe and polish. And as I've mentioned before, I usually find that it doesn't improve a whole lot after the first coat like this. Oh, maybe a little. Okay, this is after 4 applications. Looks pretty nice. Now let's go see what we got. I think that's going to be okay. I'm just going to take the sharp corners off here and here, just sort of round it over slightly. That's the next step. Then after that, press it together. Now you're probably wondering, why round it over? Well, this part of the pen, right there, is the same diameter as the bushing here, and the same on this end. Now, I didn't turn this down right to the bushing. It's probably 1/64 of an inch too big. And that's the way I do it. And what I want to do now is just slightly round these over so that this, when it comes up against here, is going to look better. You probably wouldn't notice it, but maybe you would. You might feel it when you would rub your finger from here to here. So I'm just going to round it over. By the way, this is 400 grit sandpaper. Now I want to be careful not to accidentally touch up here where it's all nice and polished. Otherwise I'm going to have to redo it. Well, that doesn't feel sharp at all now. Now you may remember having heard me say that the Sierra Twist pen and the Sierra Stylus are exactly the same except for the end here. Well, that's not 100% true. As you can see, the hardware is also slightly different. What you see is going to be very similar, but the inside is a little different. You notice it's a little different here than it is here. And the transmission here is a little shorter on the Stylus pen than it is on the Twist pen. Otherwise, they're pretty well identical. And now it's time to put them together. Now, to my thinking, this has got to be one of the easiest pen kits to put together that there is. Now, what I want to do here now is determine, do I want the clip to be over the light or the dark part of this blank? And I think it probably would be better if it was over the dark. So, that's what we're going to do here. Now, you may recall hearing me say earlier that it was important that you have the top of the blank square with the brass tube. Well, now here's why. I'm going to be pressing this part together. This is going to go into the brass tube. Now, if the top of the blank was at, say, a bit of an angle, now of course again I'm exaggerating, then this part is going to be touching here, and on the other side there's going to be a gap. So, it's important. Anyway, here we go. I think that's going to be okay. Now, for those of you who have never seen a pen press before, this is what was happening. I was lifting this handle here, and it was pressing the parts together here. Now these pen refills, there's a little plastic cap on the end there. I don't know if you can see it. That has to be removed before you can get the spring on, usually. And this will go in here like this. This screws on the end. Now we're almost done here. This goes like this, and then you just simply press it together. Now, it should eject the ink refill out, the nib out the end here when you turn it. I hope it will. Yeah, there you go. Okay, now we'll put the stylus together. Now, because the stylus pen has this little rubber thing that goes on your iPhone or whatever, you can't put the this up against anything hard because you're going to squash it. So what I've done is I've drilled a hole in a little piece of wood here, and then that way it protects it. The pressure does not come on the rubber here, it comes on the shoulder. You'll see here. Now, one more thing that is rather important, and that is that you try to get everything as straight as you can before you start shoving the pieces together. Because if it's really badly crooked, it's possible that something is going to buckle on you, and then the whole kit is ruined. But I think that's probably close enough. We'll soon know here. Perfect. Now this pen's going to go together the same way as the other one. Take the little plastic covering off there, put the spring on. Okay. Just check it, make sure it's going to come out okay and nothing's going to be binding. Put the transmission on. Okay, then push it together, and yes, it works. Okay, let's find a piece of paper and see if they're right. Well, those two are done. Well, I wonder who is it at the Cornerstone Golf Tournament in Carman, Manitoba on September the 10th that's going to get this set. Now, if you're not the person that's going to get this set, I am making 2 more sets. So keep watching.